The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical condition that they may have, and they should seek the assistance of their healthcare professional for any such conditions. Hello and welcome to Mind, Body, Luminosity, the podcast where we dive into the realms of health and wellness and equip you with the tools you need for a vibrant life. I am your host, Dr. Holly Kendra, and I am thrilled to be your guide on this journey towards optimal well-being. So today you'll notice I do have a guest with me in the facility, and I want to dive into this a little bit and really start to expand our discussions on health and wellness. And we're going to step a little bit to the side of it today, but I'm sure that you're going to understand where we're coming from once we bring it all together at the end here. And so I'm going to take a quick minute. I just want to introduce, this is Kayla Archer. She is a representative of New York Life. She is a financial advisor, and she also is opening up her own financial planning center called Abundance Wellness. And so I'm going to give Kayla just a moment to introduce herself and tell you all a little bit about who she is and what she does. So welcome, Kayla.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Yes, I'm in financial services. I'm a financial advisor, and it was earlier this year I decided to create my own LLC under New York Life as Abundance Financial and really start to market myself as my own kind of person, separate from New York Life. As great of company they are, I like to find the individuality with that. So,
Yeah, I love that. That's very naturopathic, the individuality of
yeah.
it. So tell us all just a little bit about what you do at Abundance Financial.
So I focus on big picture planning with people, and that's things like insurance planning. That's like life insurance, disability insurance, long-term care insurance. I also help people with the investments and saving side of things. They're, giving advice on their 401k, making sure they're saving enough for retirement, they're on path for things like that. And what I think I find the most enjoyable is also making sure that they're doing the things that they like to do in the meantime. Some people have hobbies and that's what they enjoy doing. Some people like to travel. Well, those things take money, and it's making sure we're working those types of things into our planning, into our overall financial plan, because it's, my motto is living your life while saving and investing. And I think that's, it's all about finding that balance.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Now, I'm sure some of our listeners are going to be like, okay, this is supposed to be a podcast about wellness and health. Mm-hmm. What does financial planning have to do with health and wellness? So you and I have talked a lot about this. And so I'd love for you to share about some of the conversations that we've had about how important it is to have financial wellness in order to have overall health and wellness. Can you tie those two together for us a little bit?
Yeah, like you said, they kind of go hand in hand. So if you want to have overall health wellness, it's making sure, in my opinion, I guess, it's making sure that you're trying to live a fairly stress-free life. You're, eating and exercising well, things like that. And when it comes to financial planning, that can be a really big stressor in people's lives. And that that stress from not knowing what you're doing, feeling like you're living paycheck to paycheck, just that kind of overall stress and anxiety can really impact your overall health and well-being. So I want to help people through those things. Sometimes the biggest stressor is it's just not knowing where you're at. If you're on track, if you're not on track, how to make your money work better for you. A lot of people just don't know those things, and that's okay. We all have our specialties, but that's something I enjoy doing and helping people with. So I guess that's how I would see them tied together is if you're stressed about your finances constantly, it's absolutely going to carry over into your overall health.
100%. And as you know, stress is like one of my areas of
Mm-hmm.
expertise. It's one of the areas that I work with most on people. And something that I see a lot of in my clients coming in my door is financial stress. I mean, everything, and especially in today's economy, everything is a money game.
Yes.
And it's also, from my perspective as a naturopathic doctor here in Michigan, without our state offering us licensure yet,
Mm-hmm.
when they come to see me, it is a cash pay thing. There is no insurance that I
Mm-hmm.
can contract with because the state of Michigan does not see me as a primary care provider. And so having the cash flow to be able to support your health and well-being by doing things like eating a healthier diet or being able to afford maybe a gym membership or buy what you need to live a healthier lifestyle. I think it's really important to be able to budget for that and to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that you have the ability and the means to do so. So, and I think that's why we've talked a lot about this and
Yes.
how important it is and how really the two go hand in hand. So, how does life insurance, because life insurance is just one arm of what you do, and I kind of want to extend this out to that a little bit more. It's often seen as a tool for financial protection, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, how does having adequate life insurance coverage contribute to that peace of mind as well?
It's it's knowing that if something were to happen to you or your spouse, your loved one that is helping bring in that paycheck, knowing that if something were to happen to them, that everything's still going to be okay. Yes, you're going to be, heartbroken. You're going to be mourning the loss of a loved one, but you having that life insurance allows you to continue to pay your bills, to continue to live in the home that you have with your kids or your spouse, whether you have kids or not. There's families that are just couples and there's family who have kids. And it's what um, the biggest thing I see is, if you have a dual income family or even a single income family, it's you are creating a lifestyle based around that income, rather the type of home you live in, the activities that you do, the extracurricular things that you enjoy doing. That can basically come to a halt if you don't have that income coming in. How do you pay your mortgage without half the income gone? It
Mm-hmm.
might be impossible. You might have to move. You might have to pick up your kids and move somewhere where you can afford that because, there wasn't enough there or you weren't having that protection in place.
Right, right. Now, I want to have you speak to, if you don't mind, a
Mm-hmm.
little bit people that are our age
Mm-hmm.
and even people that are younger than us
Yes.
don't think about this a lot. It's
Yes.
very much something that a lot of us don't think of. Like, okay, life insurance, yeah, I'll get there, whatever. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's not necessary, kind of thing. Can you speak to why we do need that? Why is that important?
Yes.
Why does somebody in their 20s and 30s need to think about that?
Especially if there's anybody who relies on you or cares about you, I think in the least, I think having some form of life insurance is important, whether it's through your employer or it's bought privately in the marketplace. It's, I'll take me for example. So when I first started in this industry, I never really gave life insurance a first thought. Like I wanted to do financial planning. Little did I know that it was kind of that's involved in that. But there was nobody relying on my income. I didn't have any debt to pay off, anything like that. However, I'm very close with my parents. And if something were to ever happen to me, that would that would impact my parents because my dad is the only person who works. My mom's kind of consistently been a stay-at-home mom. So if something were to happen to me and that impacts my dad and his ability to go to work and bring home a paycheck, how does that impact my parents and their plan and their, ability to save for retirement and pay the bills and things like that? So you somebody in their 20s, there's nobody really relying on them. They might think like I don't really need that, but it's kind of that peace of mind. I never really understood it until I was in that position where I did have life insurance and I was, traveling across the world doing something fun. And it's like, what if something happened to me? It's okay. My parents are going to have all these thousands of dollars given to them through New York Life. because that's where I got my life insurance from, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, it's going to be okay. Yes,
Yeah.
they're going to miss me. Of course they are. Like, that's just a part of, people passing, I guess. But
Right.
it's that financial security is still there.
It's definitely not something we like to think about a lot,
No.
especially in younger age, in the 20s and
Yes.
30s, and even in the 40s. We don't necessarily like to think about the fact of one day we will eventually move on from this life, and
Yes.
what is going to be left behind. Like, what kind of assistance or support or anything can we leave for our family and our friends and the people around us that might need that
Right.
to get through it on the other
Right.
side. Because I remember you talking about a case where there was a young, what was she, 25-year-old girl that suddenly passed away in a car accident, and
Yeah,
we don't think about that.
She wasn't even my client. It was a colleague of mine. It happened to her.
Yeah.
And, she, I guess in a roundabout way, convinced her client to get life insurance. And thank God she did, because she left behind siblings and parents who are now devastated that they've lost a child and a sister.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
And
just,
while the money can in no way make up for that loss, it definitely
Right.
helps to cover expenses and
Right.
all the things on the other side of it. So
Yes, and there's a very big misconception that life insurance is expensive, and it really doesn't have to be, especially if you look at your term insurance, things like that. It's when I ask people in their like early to mid 20s how much they think life insurance costs, they'll tell me about a couple $100 a month, $100, something like that, and it can cost you anywhere from $10 to $20 depending on the length of the term, how much insurance you're getting, and also how healthy you are. Things like that all play a role into that premium, but it's really a lot less expensive than people think it is.
hmm. So, what do you say to somebody who may be putting off getting life insurance for one reason or another? Maybe they are trying to, they're worried that they're not going to get as good of a deal on health insurance because they're a little bit overweight, or they have high blood pressure, or they have high cholesterol, or the different factors that go into it. How do you have that conversation with somebody?
Well, I first try to keep the mindset of I can't make anybody do anything. I can only help educate them and hope that they make what I think is the right decision based on my knowledge and expertise. And when I create a financial plan for somebody, insurance is the one of the bases of a financial plan, and life insurance is a part of that. So it's helping them understand that it doesn't have to cost that much. If you're concerned about your health and what that premium would look like, it's one thing I say to them is just know that every year that you get older, it's 100% going to get more expensive. If we could put a policy in place on you today, and you become healthier over time, we can get you a better rating. We can decrease that premium so long as you become healthier. Then we're saving you money there. But
I love that. I love that you can always go back and reevaluate and
yes.
make changes as you go forward. Okay, I want to kind of pivot a little bit and talk a little bit more about financial planning, because I know that is one area that you really excel. Some of you may know that Kayla and I met through our Lakeshore Leaders Business Networking group. And yesterday, she had the opportunity to share a lot more about her financial planning side with us in our group. And she kind of showed us an example of a whole financial plan that she laid out for her and her soon-to-be husband. And so I want to talk a little bit about how you come up with a good, solid financial plan for somebody when they come in. What are all the numbers that you're looking at? What are the important things to consider so that somebody can find that balance? How do you strike that balance between investing in your future, savings, insurance, things like that, playing the market, and then, living in the present to be able to enjoy that life? Because I know that is really kind of your motto and your goal with Abundance Financial. So let's talk a little bit about that.
So, starting somebody off with a financial plan, the first thing that I do is I have to have a really good grasp on what are they looking to accomplish? What are their goals? What do they want to do? When we get farther down the road and talk about more retirement planning, it's what does that lifestyle look like? Are you wanting to travel? Are you wanting to stay home? Or do you want to do a little bit of both? That helps me determine like how much do you really need to live off of in retirement, so we can kind of work our way backwards. Because that's kind of, start with the end in mind type idea. So, and a lot of it's going to stem from your employee benefits. What do you have for a 401k, 403b, some type of employer-sponsored retirement plan? What do you have for disability insurance through your employer? What do you have for life insurance through your employer? And we factor all of that into your overall plan, and that kind of becomes our base. So if you need anything on top of that, that's where we start. And then it's making sure we're monitoring the plan over time, because things are going to change. You're probably going to move jobs. You're going to have that 401k. We're going to need to do something with that. Maybe you're making more money. Maybe you're making less money. Maybe that employer match that you had at your previous job isn't the same as it is at the new job. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less. It's always quite subjective to the person. But that's really the starting point with anybody that I'm working with, especially if they're planning clients. I do have two types of clients. I have transactional clients who just want one thing from me and they don't want to talk about anything else. But I have other people who want to talk about actual planning and what do I need to do to get to, this end goal, and how do I get there? So.
Okay. So somebody coming in, first time visit with you, what does that look like? Are you jumping in and diving right in? Are you doing kind of like a meet and greet? What's your process? Tell us a little bit about your process.
It's more of a meet and greet style.
Okay.
So especially in this industry, it's a lot of relationship building. There are people who don't want to build those relationships, and that's okay. You learn to respect that, but it's getting to know them on a personal level so they can get to know you on a personal level. And from there, you really start building some trust, because that's a big thing in this industry is trust. If you're working with somebody and you don't maybe love the work that they're doing for you, you don't know if they're doing the right thing for you, you just don't have that type of open communication, that can be a problem. That's when clients start looking for other advisors or other people out there. And
it's their money.
exactly,
I mean, they got to trust you with their money to make those decisions.
Yes, they are spending all of their time, or a big chunk of their time, working instead of with their family or doing other things, because that's just how our society works. And it's their livelihood, and it matters greatly. So that's one advice I could give to anybody who's looking to start a financial plan, is maybe interview a couple different professionals. Who do you vibe with? Who do you like? Whose communication style is a little similar to yours, and you can have open communications, and who's really understanding what you're looking for, not just trying to make money for themselves.
Yeah.
So
smart thinking.
yeah.
So to kind of roll along with that little piece of financial wisdom there, what other specific financial habits or strategies do you recommend to your clients to help improve their overall health and wellness?
I think budgeting is the big thing. And this is something I've had to learn myself over the last couple of years. Even though I'm in this industry, I'm not perfect. I still have things I can work on and focus on and things like that. And my biggest thing was, especially last year, I realized I was spending a lot of money and I couldn't tell you where it was going. And that's a problem.
Yeah.
So I had started tracking every dollar that I spent, rather it was something for my business, it was something for going out to eat. I was buying myself something off Amazon, which I realized was part of the problem. I spent a lot of money on Amazon, and month to month, it's like, where is it going? What am I even buying? What is this doing for me? Not a lot. So through that, I started realizing habits of spending habits. And over time, it became easier to prioritize my money and really make it work for me. Would I rather buy this thing on Amazon, or would I rather put that money towards our next vacation or towards the wedding, or whatever it may be? I want to buy a new car in the next couple of years. I'm saving up for that. So it's really starting to prioritize, what do you want? Do you need another pair of shoes? Probably not. You can only wear so many, right? So,
right.
Things like that is really budgeting and making sure you know where your money is going, and starting to take control of those things. Because once you have that under control, you can really make more progress in the other areas, in terms of saving for vacation, and, just whatever's important to you, because it's always a little bit different for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any like recommendations on where people start by budgeting? Like any tips for somebody who doesn't budget yet, or somebody who may be like you, who's like, okay, I'm ending up paycheck to paycheck. I need to figure out where money is going. Where do I start? So how do you recommend they just get started? What are the first steps?
Yeah. The first step I would do is to make sure you know how much money is coming in every month. For some people, that's easier than it is for others, especially for, entrepreneurs or people who are, they don't have that steady income necessarily, which can be a struggle. I mean, that's where I'm at. Like, I don't always have the same amount of money coming in every month. But it's knowing what are the bills that you have to pay every month. Is it your car insurance? Is it your, like rent or mortgage? Like just your utilities, things like that. So what are your monthly costs or expenses that you have? And then from there, it's looking at the other money that you're spending. And sometimes you're not going to make that change right away because you don't know what to change. So by tracking what you're spending, you can start piecing together, I spend a lot of money going out to eat, or I spend a lot of money on Amazon, or I buy a lot of things at the store that I don't actually use. So it's knowing what your expenses are, how much money is coming in, and then from there just starting to track your habits, not necessarily making any changes until you realize what needs to change. So
I like that because it reminds me a lot of when I talk to people who come in and we want to talk about dietary changes. Maybe they have, maybe we're trying to work on some gut healing or some gut health protocols. And a lot of times with that, one of the first things I recommend people do is just start tracking their eating. What are you eating? And then what are you noticing in your body? You're not changing anything yet. Just like bring that awareness. So a lot of times we just all live in kind of autopilot and we just go because we're so busy and we're so stressed out and we've got all these other things, my kids have soccer 4 days a week now. So it's like, I've got to figure out soccer and I've got to figure out, dinner every night and I've got to figure out my business and, all these other things. And so it's like, go, 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 go. But just bringing that present moment awareness. And I talked about that, I think, last week or the week before on the podcast, was just having that present moment awareness and tuning in for a minute. And so tracking your, monthly spending or even daily spending, just each day, what did I spend money on today? Where is it going? I know that there's some great apps for that out there too. I think my husband for a little while was using Mint.
Yes,
But
I was using Mint for a little while. And the reason I started tracking everything on an Excel sheet was because with Mint, for the life of me, couldn't figure out. I Googled, I researched, tried to see if I could change the way it was tracking my expenses, like the time frame.
Right.
So I put everything on a credit card and then I pay it off in full every month because I get cash back that way and it's safer if I was to ever get hacked. Like it's
Yep.
in the bank's money, not my money.
Yep.
And my credit card bill is from like the 21st to the 21st of every month, but Mint was tracking it on the first, the end of the
third.
month.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
that's not accurate for me, and I couldn't
Right.
figure out how to change that, and it just wasn't working. So, it's some of it's trial and error. What works best for you? I found an Excel sheet works best for me. If I just went on once a week and started tracking the things that I spent over the last week, and because it can build up fast. You spend more money than you think you do.
Right.
And so doing it in chunks,
Especially when you're
like
first
that.
starting and you're
Yes.
really not aware of when you're spending and when you're
Yes.
not spending. When it's so easy to, buy with one click on
Yep.
Amazon.
Yep.
So yeah, that's great advice. It's great. Tracking is a great way to just start bringing awareness, and then you start realizing what you're spending money on each time. And then I think we were talking the other day about how you for you, this is one strategy that you have started using, and I loved it. You give yourself like a 3-day period, and so if you want to buy
Yes.
something, you wait. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Okay, so something that I kind of had to figure out for myself, and maybe I got some, influence online and things like that. But if I wanted to buy something, I give myself 3 days, and three things are going to happen during that time frame. You're going to forget about it, so you're not going to buy it. You're not going to spend the money on it. You're going to realize that you don't want it as much as you think you did in the moment, so you're not going to buy it. Or you're going to realize that you do really want it. It is going to benefit you. You are going to use it, so you buy it, and that's okay. But it's giving yourself 3 days to really think and kind of process that helps you with that. What's the word?
Like impulse
Yes,
control.
impulse buying.
That's what it makes me think
Yes,
of.
yes, and that has been very helpful because I am quick to go on Amazon to find something that, like, I have a need for this. I want to organize something. Well, okay, it's really not impacting my life the way I think it is. So if I give myself 3 days, it's really not bothering me as much as I think it was in the moment.
Yeah.
So, it's just things like that. But I have found that I've been wanting a new pillow for a long time. And I have been, this one was definitely over 3 days. I probably contemplated for at least a month and did research on what's the best pillow because I'm a side sleeper, blah, blah, blah. And I finally decided to buy a new pillow. Found one that I thought I would like. It was a $120 pillow. It's probably a little bit much for a pillow, but I'm not going to need to buy a new one in a long time.
Right.
So, it's things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And, and I think that that's great. And the pillow is important for good sleep. And if you don't get good, solid sleep, then you're not having overall health and wellness. I mean, I talk about sleep is really core. It's one of the foundations of health for me.
It really is.
I talk to a lot of people about sleep. So, that buying a pillow is a good, solid investment. But, it's good that you went back and you did the research to make sure, am I buying a quality pillow? I want to make sure that if I'm going to put this money towards this, it's going to be worth it.
Yes.
And I'm not going to have to buy another $120 pillow for a while.
Right. I mean, Craig and I have now been together for 3 years. And since then, I'm pretty sure we've bought 3 different pillows for us to sleep on. And over the course of time, they just end up sucking.
Yeah.
They're not as good as they were when you first had them in the first month or so.
And they probably weren't that expensive. They were probably on the cheaper side pillow.
$20, $30 pillows maybe. I don't really know how much pillows go for necessarily, but it was things like that. If you can invest in something that's a little better quality, that's going to last you longer, you're better off doing that than buying, $5 $30 pillows over the course of a few years.
Right.
So, quality is a big thing.
I mean, and we're bringing it a little bit full circle with that, going back to talking about investing, and doing quality and solid investments. So let's talk about that for a little bit and kind of how you handle investments with people and how they can utilize that towards health and wellness goals.
Yeah, so investing can be fairly broad. Why are you investing? Are you investing for retirement? Or are you investing your emergency fund, or you just have extra money that you don't necessarily need? Because you're going to have 2 very different investment strategies looking at it that way. Especially if you're younger investing for retirement, you have a longer time frame, you can afford to be more aggressive. So there's different investments there versus if you just have extra money that you're wanting to slowly build over time, you're going to have something more conservative, most likely. Everybody's a little bit different with their, risk tolerance, but I help people figure out what their risk tolerance is based on what they're trying to do.
What their goals are, yeah.
Yes.
Short-term and long-term?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Awesome. Now, I know that I want to kind of pivot again. We're covering a lot of ground today, but you do so much. And I really feel like, it's good to highlight all of the different areas where you can be helpful to people. So something that you shared about on your social media that you do is you and your partner do these money dates, these date nights where you get together and you sit down and you look at your finances and your investments and all your things and make sure that everything is going in the direction you want it to go. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so Craig and I started doing money dates, I would say fairly early on in our relationship. Now, keep in mind, Craig has been in the financial industry for a lot longer than I have, so we're both 2 finance nerds living in the same household, and we just enjoy these things. So we started sitting down at least once a month, usually about once a month, and the first thing we do is we update our assets. where's our 401ks, where's our Roth IRAs at, like how are those growing, what debts are we paying down. So from there we figure out our net worth and our liquid net worth, which on a day-to-day basis you really don't need to know. But when you're trying to buy something like a home, or starting to work with a financial advisor, or even like an estate planning attorney, you're going to need to know what your assets are. So we always keep a good check on what are we paying down for debts and what are we building in assets. And then from there, we also look at what are some of our goals, what are some of our purchase goals that we want. Well, we're getting married next year. That's not a cheap event. So we're prioritizing a lot of our money towards the wedding, but we also have some other things that we want to do. Like we have a pool and we don't have a pool heater, except now we do because we've ended up saving for one and we were planning on that. So now we have a pool heater that we can now get at least an extra 2 months out of the season with our pool, which I think is a good investment. It didn't cost us as much as we thought it would. But so that's another thing that we do is like, what are the things that we want to do or buy? We like to take a lot of trips. We don't live a very extravagant lifestyle, but we like to go do a lot of things. Universal Studios is one of those. We went to
much fun.
So much fun. Lenora loves it. So we went last year around her birthday for her midwinter break, and we all just fell in love. We had such a fun time. Well, now they're opening up the Epic Universe in Orlando in 2025, but we're planning a trip in 2026. So that's something that, again, we're saving up for and then trying to take little trips in between.
I love that.
That's kind of the bulk of our money dates is like, where are our assets? What are they doing? What are the goals that we want to do or the trips we want to take, and how are we funding those? And then we're also looking at our income because Craig has a very consistent income compared to my income. So it's when I have extra coming in, where do we allocate that? And everybody's going to be different. You have, single income households, you have dual income households, and sometimes there's more consistency there, which can be easier for planning purposes. But that's money is a big topic, I think, in marriages because I think money conversations are one of the biggest reasons why marriages can fail is because there's a discrepancy with how you think your money should be handled.
Agreed.
So when you are talking with your spouse or your partner on a consistent basis, you're both always on the same page, or at least having those conversations, even if you don't always agree on things. It's a really good way to, one, address those things and then find a problem or solution, not a problem, but find a solution for it.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you guys get together on a regular basis and talk about that, and you make that a priority. You make that a time. So, if somebody else loves this idea, like I said, I love this idea, and I'd love to get started doing this with my husband.
Yeah.
What are some ways you recommend people start doing that, or is there a way that we could start doing that?
Yeah. Well, something that Craig and I are exploring, we're still kind of in the planning phases of it, but we are actually wanting to teach couples how to do this.
Oh, I love that.
Yes. So we are wanting to have a class on money dates, and we're still kind of working out the details, but we kind of want to make it special because when we have our money dates, we try to make it special. We either go to a different location, or we make a nice dinner, or, something that it can be it's just not our ordinary day-to-day life.
Yeah.
That's something for us.
Yeah.
So we want to teach couples how to do that.
I love that. I love that. Any idea on when? Because I'm totally signing up.
We are thinking, we were originally thinking like late May.
Okay.
I'm now thinking probably mid-June at the moment, just because I'm swamped with a class that I'm taking. So
lifelong learning. It's incredible. I'm right there with you.
But I have to, do all of this reading and coursework and stuff like that, and then I have to take an exam, which will be end of May. But I want to make sure that I have time to plan for the money date because I need to, create a PowerPoint or create the content and get that approved through our compliance department, and making sure we're marketing this type of thing and stuff like that. So I think my next step right now is to interview some couples and see like when would be a good time for you to do this. Is it a Saturday morning? Is it a weekday, evening? Like something So we have a good frame of reference for what's going to work for people.
Mm-hmm. Is this going to be an in-person thing, or are you thinking it's going to go virtual via webinar?
Ideally in person, but I am most certainly open to doing something virtual for people, or
That's
even
fantastic.
like maybe recording something so they can do it on their own time. That's all thing that I'm experimenting with because
Yeah.
marketing is not at all my strong suit. Creating content is not quite my strong suit. Something I'm working on,
Yep.
but but yes, there's just such a need for financial education, no matter what it is. Rather, it's saving and investing, or it's doing, having conversations with your spouse or your partner. And there's just, I have this misconception that people know more than they do, and well, they don't always, just because there's the internet and TikTok, and I feel like people know more than they do, and they don't, and that's okay. So that's where it's kind of, the inspiration is coming from to, I like this stuff. I do all of this on a daily basis. I might as well teach some people how to do it themselves.
I love that. One of our core tenets as naturopathic doctors is docere, which is
Mm-hmm.
doctor as teacher. And so you're like financial planner as teacher. And
Yeah.
like you said, I think there are a lot of people out there that think that they know more than they do about finances. But when they really sit down and like look at the numbers and look at like potential retirement, there could be people like me who are like, okay, well, I have like a bajillion dollars in debt from going to medical school. Like, is retirement even an option? So being able to sit down and talk to somebody who that is what they do, I think is really vital to helping people kind of come up with a solid financial plan, come up with a solid budget,
Yes.
be able to afford to live the life you want to live
Yes.
now and in the future.
Yes. And that other perspective can really go a long way.
Yeah.
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 I mean, even so Craig and I, he's been in the industry for a long time. Like I said, I've been in the industry for going on 4 years now. We will do some of our own retirement planning and things because we have that base knowledge, but we actually meet with another advisor at New York Life to get his perspective, his opinion on things, because he's going to see things differently than we see our life.
Smart. That's really smart.
Yes.
I mean, I went down the road for a while of trying to treat myself as my own doctor, and it just does not work.
Yeah.
Like, I will be the first to tell you, it does not work to be your own doctor. It does not work to be your own financial planner. Like, you really should get somebody on board that knows what they're doing, that is an external viewpoint to everything. They're going to give you a different perspective, and probably one that could be really beneficial.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree.
Kayla, how can people follow you or learn more about you? Where can people go to learn more about Abundance Financial and what you do?
Yeah, at the moment, basically my Facebook page, which I'm still in the process of changing some names over. So right now it's Kayla Archer Financial Services, or it's I'd even have to look. I don't know. It's via like Life Securities or New York Life on Facebook. It's really not that hard to find. But I also am working on doing some newsletters, like quarterly newsletters that are going to have just information about me and my office, things that we're doing, but also like financial tips. And the money date's going to be on there in the next newsletter. That way, just another way to kind of get the word out. But
How can people sign up for your newsletter?
if right now, if they were to just like reach out to me on Facebook or something and say, hey, I'd like some information, then really the only thing I'll need is an email address.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Kayla, thank you so much for coming on today and talking to us here about how financial planning contributes to overall health and wellness. I know it seems like it's out of left field, but it's really critical to having solid overall health and wellness, is having a solid financial plan, being able to afford to live a healthier lifestyle, live a healthier retirement someday, having life insurance on board for like those just in case moments, all the pieces. Just, when we sit down and talk about it, having a financial wellness, it's like a integral arm to a stool leg, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I don't think it's coming out right, but
I'm picking up what you're putting down. I think it makes sense having a solid financial plan, or at least knowing what's going on with your finances, can help eliminate some of that stress, and in turn ideally it will eliminate hopefully some health concerns that maybe you have. Stress can accumulate in the body or manifest itself in the body in multiple different ways, and that's where seeing a doctor will come in handy, because I'm not going to tell you what that looks like, but but yes.
I mean, and I, like I was saying at the beginning, it's financial stressors come up so much. So if you can alleviate just a little bit of that stress by having a solid financial plan and financial backing, I think that it will go a long ways. So thank you again for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. This has been really fun.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I will see you in our group next week again. And for those of you who are watching, thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Mind Body Luminosity. I hope you found this information informative and empowering. And I want you to remember that your health is your greatest asset, and investing in it is a key to living a fulfilling life. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. Please leave us comments on any information that you would love to hear more about, because your feedback helps us to continue to deliver this valuable content to you guys. And so until next time, stay curious, stay mindful, and stay healthy. Wishing you wellness and abundance until we meet again. The information provided in this podcast and supporting material is for general informational purposes only. It does not constitute the practice of medicine or other professional healthcare service, including the giving of medical advice. I am a doctor, but I am not your doctor, and no doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of this information and any materials linked to this podcast is at the user's own risk. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical condition that they may have, and they should seek the assistance of their healthcare professional for any such conditions.